Hello everyone, so it's a quick update from me. I haven't really been looking at much in the last month because I've been quite busy with the house. As I mentioned, I moved last month and there's been a bit more work to do than I expected. Nothing major, thankfully, so there's not much for me to include here, but the main thing is that there's been another update from Richard D. Hall, and it's not great, as you may know from watching his programs and his updates and things. He was taken to court in 2023, and this has been dragged out for almost 3 years now, getting on for 3 years. 2022 I should say. And the latest is that he's now going to be made bankrupt, and there's a brief update here which you can read. This will be linked in the description. Just go to richplanet.net to read it. So unfortunately, this is going to mean more grief for Richard, which of course was what was intended from the start. It's totally disgusting, totally unjust. Richard has done nothing wrong. He has told the truth, and the system has actually done to him what he is accused of doing. In other words, he's being harassed, etc., even by the people that have claimed that he has harassed them, which is untrue, etc. So anyway, the result is that he could be made homeless. There is a risk of that happening, and this includes his son Lewis, who is 10 years old, and Lewis has lived with Richard for quite some time now, and so Lewis would be made homeless if this bankruptcy goes ahead in the way that it could. So there is a risk here. This hasn't happened yet, and there's going to be another hearing which Richard will update us all on. But in the meantime, I've set up a trust fund, or I'm in the process of setting up a trust fund. I've set up a GoFundMe campaign. It's actually not called GoFundMe, and the details of that can be found here on this page. And what's basically happening, I've set up a special account. It's in my name, but you can pay in money into that, and this will be sent into a trust fund that is in the process of being set up with myself and Danielle and Lloyd Bryant as trustees, and money will go into that trust to essentially go towards housing Lewis and anybody that cares for him, basically. So that is ongoing. Many thanks to those that have already donated. There's been quite a bit come in. Richard did send out this update here to his email list, I think on Friday last week. People obviously already know about it. So if you do want to share this, I'm not pushing it, I'm not promoting it, as it were. All I'm saying is that what's happened to Richard is completely unjust, and the effects of this have now been passed on to his son, who hasn't done anything wrong. But the system doesn't seem to care. The people don't seem to care, because of course if you followed the case you will know that the damages were set at £50,000, and already generous people have donated much more than that to Richard's campaign. I don't know what the total donations are, which have all gone to pay legal fees, and the legal fees are like over £200,000, I believe. So this money that is being taken off Richard is not going to pay the so-called claimants or the claimants. It is going to pay, by and large, court fees and solicitors' bills. So the court and all the judges and all those people want to be paid, and in order for that to happen, there's the risk that a child could be made homeless, when this is all based on a lie, as those of you who followed this will understand. So that's the situation at the moment. As I say, donate if you wish, share this if you wish. And again, thanks to all those that have already shared it and raised awareness. That's great. And we'll just have to see where this goes. I obviously feel a little bit helpless other than doing this. Richard, of course, has had an injunction set against him, so he can't talk about the case. So what else do you do, kind of thing. So I'll leave it at that for this particular element, and then there's really just one other thing that's come in my inbox which I've had time to look at, that's worth putting into this video, and that's somebody flagged up this documentary from 1994 which is called Too Close to the Sun. It's about Pons and Fleischmann, the chemists who discovered or rediscovered the cold fusion process back in 1989, and there's some interviews with scientists. It's kind of like a 5-year update, and it is a BBC Horizon documentary, and it's okay, you know. It's got this really annoying person here, and a few other quite annoying people in there. But I think as you see, Eugene Malov is in this documentary, and he gets quite a good hearing there. But of course, they try and debunk what he says as well, because that's what they had to do then, and they have to do it now still. So this will be linked in the description. But when I actually looked at this copy, which has been posted by this Energy Abundance channel, I don't know who that person is that runs it, or whether they know about 9/11. I just was a bit baffled, because all the BBC credits are all, you see, they're blurred out. So this was originally, you can tell it's the Horizon music. It's the BBC music. So I thought, why is that? Let's see if I can find another copy of this documentary. And I did find another copy, and it's on the Internet Archive. And what it's in is another archive. It's a huge archive of BBC Horizon documentaries. Now, I'm not kind of promoting this because we all know that BBC's like, but this goes back to 1964, and some of these documentaries in the 1980s were not quite as controlled as they are now. So there's loads in there. There's already a couple which I've wanted to see again, one from year 2000, and I think there's one about Halley's Comet, here we go, from 1985. So probably quite a bit of good stuff in there. 339 gigabytes if you want to download all of that lot. But one thing that I did find in this, I think it's in this clip here. Yeah, I'm just going to play this.
One Nobel Prize winner claims psychedelic drugs inspired him to greatness.
So that clip I just happened to click on randomly, and I thought, I know who that Nobel Prize scientist probably is.
I had not taken LSD ever. Would I have still invented PCR?
And in Brazil.
And he says, I would not have taken LSD, and if I hadn't, would I still invented PCR? And that is, of course, Kary Mullis, who would have been a critique of COVID had he been alive, but he died in August 2019. This page talks about his. Mullis stated he was functionally sober at this point. However, his famous love for taking and making psychedelic drug LSD gives these colour, because he was a chemist, gives these colourful scenes a whole other context. In fact, he once said, "Would I have invented PCR if I hadn't taken LSD? I seriously doubt it." I'm going to touch on this in my consciousness book if I ever finish it. You can look at that documentary, that particular one. I haven't looked at the whole documentary. That's from 1997. I just happened to randomly click on that trailer. So that might be worth a look. And then one other thing that's come to mind, which I should mention, I'll just to get that up. So I should say that quite a few people wrote to me about Hurricane Erin. We've had another Hurricane Erin this year, 2025, in late August. It didn't quite make it into September, and people sort of say, oh look, there's another Hurricane Erin. Yes, I did kind of know about this. I did see it, I think, fairly early on when it was posted, but I think I wanted to point out this site, which somebody did some good research into actually, and it's the people funding this might be worth looking into. But anyway, the name Erin was not retired, so there have been, I think, well, you can see there have been 3 previous Hurricane Erin. The one, of course, the most interesting one is 2001, which we've written about many times. And then it was used as a name for a tropical storm in 2007, 2013, and 2019. So isn't it interesting they reused this name? Now, I suspect they only retire names when the hurricane does a lot of damage, like it's one that people would remember. But I don't know how the decision to retire a name works. I haven't looked into that, so feel free to look into that for yourself. So they've used the name again, and probably will use it again after this. But let's not forget what happened with Hurricane Erin on 9/11. And if you don't know, please look at the Irrefutable film and Dr. Judah was research, drjudah.com, etc. Now that brings me on to the fact that actually I've been in touch with the editor of the German Nexus magazine for a while. I can't remember if I mentioned this in an earlier video. And I've actually done an article for them about Hurricane Erin. I did send it in. I got an acknowledgement from Daniel, and I think they will print it. I think he was just very busy when he was replying to me. But what they have published is I did a series of 3 articles for them on the secret space program, and they've now published all 3 of those. Now you can't see them on the website because it's a print magazine. You can get a preview on the website, so you can read sort of like the first third of the article or something, or first sixth. Each article is about 6,000-7,000 words, so they're quite long. So I mean to ask him whether I can publish the English versions on my website. I didn't want to publish them without them okaying it. I might publish the English versions after this issue is kind of, well, when they publish the next issue, in other words, which I think will be in October, after this has been in print for a while. So so that's a good development, because I put all the Hurricane Erin stuff, or a bit of it, in the anti-gravity article, because it all connects together, of course, if you know about the Hutchinson effect and so forth. So that I've done all the secret space program stuff in that. Well, not all of it, but Edgar Fouché, John Hutchinson, a bit about Bob Lazar. Daniel asked me to update some stuff I had on that, and so that might be something that develops. I may do a couple more articles for Nexus. I've talked about doing one for them on the Earth expansion stuff. So we'll see where that goes. So I think then that is just about all I had to say for now. So thanks very much again for clicking onto this video and watching. Share if you like, and let's hope that we can help Richard protect Lewis through the trust fund. So take care, and thanks again for your support on this and everything else, and I wish you well, and I'll talk to you again before too long. Thanks.